Yes. Yes, we're moving around. Good afternoon, aliens. Welcome to Leprechaun Alley. My name is Carrie.
My name is Michael.
And we are here to take live astrology reading requests, giving us your birthday and year. We use a combination of Western and terrestrial astrology, also Chinese astrology.
Which is the terrestrial astrology.
Which is the terrestrial astrology, right. In terms of, or it's a combination in terms of providing a reading. So, and if you like what you hear here, please like and subscribe and share. Okay, so, well, we've really been hooked on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. So, and Michael was kind of talking about that a little bit, commentary.
Well, since it's a big item in these past weeks, and the trial is ongoing, and today I guess it's going to culminate to a decision. Still, we can entertain the audience that's paying attention to this podcast. We can discuss a little bit more about their astrological makeup and perhaps try to get into what we think their strengths and weaknesses may be for today's arguments, which is culminating into a final decision as the jury is going to take the case sometime today. And in any event, to discuss this whole thing, let's take a look at these two characters and their makeup. We're going to try to make sense of it astrologically. That doesn't mean that we're going to be right in our decision or in any of the ideas that we may be promoting as valid, but it will become interesting in terms of the strategy that is ongoing, which is affected by their astrological makeup, because astrology will enter into what happens to these two, as their astrology does have an effect on. Yeah, astrology. Well, we're good.
It's okay. I may have to abandon you for just a minute. Apologies.
Okay. Well, I will continue.
I just got hit really hard with a hot flash, and I'm soaked right now.
Carrie will be back very shortly, but I will try to continue to entertain the audience. Let's talk about Amber and Johnny Depp. When we look at these two astrologically, we'll make a short analysis of what we think is their weaknesses and their strengths. Astrologically, we have Johnny Depp being a Gemini. He's born sometime the end of May through the middle of June, which is the segment of the calendar year that belongs to Gemini. In addition to that, we have a year that is associated with Johnny Depp, Gemini being his Western sign, Western astrology, which is our Roman Greek astrology, the popular astrology used by most of the Western world. When we go to the year, we are entering into what is known as terrestrial astrology or Chinese astrology. And that's based on the movement of moon and how many moons are in a year. They constitute a year. And their year is a little shorter than the solar year. Western astrology follows the sun, and it completes its cycle every 365 days. Whereas the Chinese system is something like 280 something days. I don't have that number correct because I never really needed to memorize that amount of time. But in either case, we have a sign that belongs to Johnny Depp. He is born in the year of, the Chinese call it the rabbit. I prefer to call it the cat. Both symbols are appropriate because the symbols for cat and rabbit in China have the same exact glyph. So Chinese astrology treats the rabbit and the cat as having very similar values. If we look at both of these animals, if we were to look at a cat or a rabbit sitting in the lawn, they would appear as identical animals. They sit the same way, they have the same posture, they move the same way. Both animals tend to be somewhat timid around people or any animal that's larger than them, and they hide from these things. Both animals have the same exact the way of moving around. First they'll move and then they'll find a place to hide, and they stay away from what they consider threats. However, both animals tend to be very harsh in their own atmosphere. In other words, around their own. Rabbits tend to sometimes have fights with other rabbits. In either case, the female rabbit hides her young from the male rabbit, because the male rabbit will go around looking for the little baby male rabbits and kill them. The same thing happens with the cat. The difference is that cats are not domesticated enough to where they are controlled to stay in one spot like rabbits are. Rabbits are placed in coops where they don't have access to hidden places. So they have a hard time hiding their young. Usually, if a farmer is that's tending to these animals has any intelligence, he will separate the male rabbit away from the female rabbits when the females are impregnated. Cats have the same condition. They hide their young from the male cats, and they have a greater success because, well, they're wild. Cats are more wild than rabbits. And they usually have the freedom to hide places. Human beings don't really lock cats up in coops, so the cats have a slightly better success to keep their male young alive. Now, having said that about the rabbit or the cat, what we know is that Johnny Depp is born in the year of I call it the cat, the Chinese call it the rabbit. So he was born in the month of the horse, according to China. And according to China, the year comes first. That's the prominent sign. So Johnny Depp is a cat or a rabbit first. His second nature would be his month, which is Gemini. And in China, the month of Gemini corresponds to the Chinese year of the horse. So Johnny Depp is a horse cat, to put it in its proper form. Both of these animals are what we call mutable. Why are they mutable? Both of these animals fall into what we call the transitory signs. The cat falls in the month of Pisces, which is a transitory sign, a dualistic sign, symbolized by two fish. It is the end of the season, so it's changeable. And his month, the horse, Gemini, happens to be an immutable sign of Gemini, which means that it is also dualistic. So what does Johnny Depp represent? He represents the nature of dualism. He has the ability to weave in and out. He has the ability to keep his cool. He has his ability to become intense and direct, because that's what mutability means. It has both the quality of the cardinal sign, meaning movable, and the quality of the fixed sign, which means to stay stationary. This gives him the option. This gives him an advantage over Amber, and we'll explain why. Amber has pretty much the opposite combination. But Johnny Depp has the advantage to turn on in any direction he needs to for his cause. That should have given him some strength in court against Amber. We look at Amber and we look to see what kind of makeup she is made up and whether she is compatible with Johnny Depp. Amber is a Taurus, the month of Taurus. In China, this month belongs to the snake. And we know that the snake bides its time. It attacks when it thinks things are good for her or for the snake. And so the snake is devious in many ways, in that it is able to stay still until striking time. And the striking time is always with deliberation. It is calculated. There is no mistake about what the snake does, because the snake has only one opportunity to win a battle, and that is to uh, overpower its victim when the victim is not prepared, because the snake is always prepared and strikes only when things are definitely in its favor. In addition to the fact that she's a Taurus, which is a fixed sign, it's in the middle of the season, as the fixed sign Taurus is the middle of spring, where Gemini is the end of spring. And so it prepares a change for a new cardinal sign as we enter Cancer, where Taurus is in the middle of the season between Aries and Gemini. And these signs are usually the ones who are very deliberate, very fixed, and do not change their minds very easily. Then we look at her year, the year that she's born. She's born in the year of the tiger, where Johnny Depp is the year of the cat. And you would think that the tiger will kill the cat, and usually the tiger has the potential to do this. But the cat is very, very, very intelligent and very resourceful. So we have Amber as the fixed sign of the tiger, which belongs to the month of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the middle of the winter, the middle month. So we have the tiger snake, which is what we have, or should I say, we have the snake tiger with Amber, Amber being the month of the snake, the year of the tiger. So we have a snake tiger. Now, this, in addition to that, Amber is born in a fire year, where Johnny Depp is born in a water year. So now, who is at the advantage? Well, it would appear that water, Johnny Depp, is going to have the advantage over Amber, who is a fire year. And water conquers fire. So she's up against a hard case, a hard nut to break, because he's water. He will move like water in many directions, whereas fire moves only in one direction. And if we look at the defense or the argument that Amber's team is making, you continually see this constant repetition of the same thing, a fixed quality. They stay on this one theme without any other color to it. And that shows that she's a fixed sign. And usually when you are rigid like that, there's a disadvantage, because you're not arguing all around, where you can make your case appear a lot more colorful, a lot more realistic. So she has a problem fighting the water, Johnny Depp, the year of the water. So Johnny Depp has what the Chinese would call water quality, whereas Amber would have what we call the fire quality. So now we see Amber at a disadvantage twice. The first, because she has two fixed signs for her with which to work and to express, and
Hi,
to
Sylvia.
and to become what she wants. Whereas Johnny Depp has two mutable signs, changeable signs. They're able to adapt to change rapidly. Water, Johnny Depp, against fire, Amber Hearst. In my opinion, I see Johnny Depp as not having to had work as hard as he did to make his case. Just the fact that he comes across as water will require more sympathy from other people, because
Yes,
water
that's
is
right. Don't
empathetic.
forget that. Yeah.
Water is empathetic. People relate to water. Water is the sign of intelligence, because with water comes all growth. So water hides intelligence within itself. And then all of a sudden, flowers and trees and grass and everything possible grows from water, including us as human beings.
Right.
We're comprised of 85% water. And water is what we need all the time. We can't live without water. Of course, air is another element.
Oh, thank you. I literally, Sylvia, thank you. She just said orange is my color. I literally had to change Oh, I had like the swamp creature thing going on. And I swear to God, I think I'm going to write a comic book about a middle aged woman whose superpower is to squirt water out of her pores to rescue people from fires. Because I feel like I could just walk into a fire by the time I get done. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I had to change. But anyway, go ahead.
So if we look at this Amber and Johnny Depp issue, we also can see from the expressions from these two people. Amber Depp sits there with this constant same look on her face. Nothing ever changes. It's as if she's totally internally possessed, which is one of the qualities of fire.
Right.
Fire is said to be self-possessed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm born in a fire year, so I know from time to time I'm accused of the same thing, because fire has to burn and it has to move in one direction. If that direction is wrong, there's no hope for the fire because they're going to move in that direction. Fire moves in the direction opposite of gravity, so it is considered the disobedient element of the zodiac.
Right.
Whereas water is considered to be the obedient one. Why? Fire goes against gravity in its movement. As we all know, flames go up, not down, not
Right.
across, they go up. Whereas water has only one direction it wants to go, and that is in the direction that gravity mandates. And so water obeys gravity. It obeys the properties of the earth, of the living, let's call it the living phenomenon,
Or the life force.
the life force,
Right.
let's call it.
Right. It's key.
So-
It's like it's a hologram.
So looking at it astrologically, I don't know who is going to win in this case at the end. But looking at this from an
Neither
astrological
of them,
point
actually.
of view,
Yeah.
it would seem that Johnny Depp has the great advantage simply because he is going to appear more human in his approach, even though he is, as an actor, he is trying to be accurate in the way he delivers everything. The fact of the matter is that he comes across as more humanistic. Amber Depp does not. I mean, Amber
Heard.
Heard does not come across as someone who is sensitive, who is considerate, who is compassionate, who has feelings. Her voice doesn't project that. Her presence doesn't project that. And I would imagine it would have to have an effect on her testimony as well. So my prediction is that things are looking favorable for Johnny Depp. And at this very moment, they're preparing to give the orders to the jurors to go out and deliberate. So it is very, very close to a conclusion. So whatever we're saying is before the conclusion. So you'll be able to find out
Right.
whether
That's right. We'll find out.
whether what we said is good or
Right.
bad. But I have given you the logical reason why Johnny Depp is the one who's in greater power. I'll give you relate a story about the tiger and the cat. And I mention these two because Johnny Depp in Chinese is the cat, known also as the rabbit, where Amber Heard is the tiger. And it is said that the cat will annoy the tiger while the tiger is asleep. Because when the tiger is asleep, you can do what you want. You can shit on them. They'll do nothing. They're lazy. Tigers, when they rest, they want to sleep and they do not want to be bothered. And the cat is notorious for being curious. Tigers are not that curious. They don't really care. They're strong enough to take care of anything, so they don't need curiosity. But the cat needs everything it can to be a good hunter. And we know that the cat, amongst all animals, is the supreme hunter.
That's true. Yeah.
The cat, the
Yep,
domestic cat,
That's
is the
true.
supreme
Mhm.
hunter because it has the patience, it has the ability to convert and change if it needs to. It can change its position, its posture, its hunting habits. It will make any adjustment it needs in order to succeed. And they always come home with what they have killed.
Yes.
But the tiger doesn't always go home full. He goes home hungry many a times.
Mm.
Cats do not go home hungry that often. So we have the cat annoying the tiger. And China says eventually the cat has annoyed the tiger too many times. The tiger will get up and decide it's going to take care of this cat and kill it. So it starts chasing the cat. The cat knows that the tiger is not that good of a climber. Some cats, some tigers can climb trees, but the cat can climb a tree in an instant.
Right. And get much further up the
It
tree.
can get up
Yeah.
that tree so rapidly that the tiger will have no hope to catch the cat. And now, what do you think happens? The cat,
Oh, JG, hi. Good to see you. Keep going. I'm sorry.
the cat will shit on the tiger's head for good measure. And that is how this ends. The cat always gets the advantage, no matter how much it might be in the wrong or in the right. So we have that going on. That condition, meaning that the cat
Right. Yes.
will outmaneuver the tiger because it has the agility and the
Right.
know-how.
Hmm.
Because the cat already knows where the trees are. It isn't going to go and annoy the tiger without having a way to remedy the situation should the tiger decide to go after him.
Well, Michael, I wanted to tell you also, JG is also watching the trial. She's like, no, I'm going to stop for a minute. I'll watch you guys listen to your commentary too. She's got both going on. Oh, JG is one of the individuals in the chat.
Oh,
So
okay.
Michael still
okay.
has to get used to the chat.
Yeah,
So,
I'm an antiquated
doesn't see-
person.
yeah, he doesn't see that.
I come from
JG
times.
is with us all the time too.
Yeah, I come from times where computers were simply not even imagined. That's how far back I go in time. I go back to 19 calculators in school. No calculators. Not even as I went through college, calculators were just starting to come out. We had to do
yeah, that's
everything
true.
manually. Everything we
That's
did
true.
was manual. We had rote memory. We had to memorize how multiplication and division capabilities and all of the other math. I can't even remember some of the math. Was it algebra and calculus
Oh
and
yeah,
all of
algebra,
that?
calculus.
We
Yeah,
didn't have any help. In fact,
pre-calc.
as I was becoming a young man and starting to get into business, they just then barely came out with beepers. Nobody hears about a beeper anymore. But back in 1980, 81, 82, 83, in the 90s, up to
Yeah.
98, even up to the year of 2000, there were beepers. Of course, they came out with the telephone by Nextel, which was like a radio telephone setup. And
Yeah, like a CB.
the problem with them is that every time somebody spoke, the person who spoke first was heard, and the other side could talk and nobody would hear. So you couldn't have a real two-way conversation. You had to stop talking, give the airtime just a little bit of space so the other person could start talking. But if both of these people were talking, they would miss everything.
Yep.
And there was a lot of confusion with what somebody said and somebody didn't say because the
10-4, big buddy.
technology was very poor. Then, of course, as I reached into my close to my 50s, all of a sudden we had cell phones coming out, the original ones that came out, and they were very expensive to use.
Right.
Now
Everything.
now you can call
Right.
anywhere in the world just about, and everybody's on the phone forever. Back then, you were charged by the minute, and there were people that were getting
Yeah, we're like
bills.
all one giant phone now.
You know, there were people. I had 8 of these phones for my workforce, and I was paying up to $2,000, $3,000 a month.
Yep.
For these cell phones.
Yeah.
The Nextel phones.
Well, that tells you that the economy was a lot better then too.
But
Isn't
what
that
happened
something?
was they came out with the
$2,000
smartphones.
cell phone bill is not such a big.
Once
Yeah.
they came out with the cell phones, the smartphones, now the cost was to buy the phone, not to operate the phone.
Right.
Now you have to pay $300, $400, $500, $600 to buy a phone.
More like
And these phones were
1,000 to
easy.
1,100.
And these phones were easy to break.
Yep.
Even if you paid $1,100 for the phone. you could drop them and it's gone.
Right.
Whereas the original cell phones were pretty hardy. You can smash them against the wall, and half of them always survived.
Yeah.
So as things got cheaper, other things got more expensive. So now you go out and buy other things got more expensive. So now you go out and buy cell phones, smartphones, to replace the one that broke, because it either broke because you dropped it or because they changed the uh, uh, what is it with the programming of the phone, so
Oh,
that you
the
had
operating system.
the
They changed the
operating
operating
system would
system, right?
continually change,
So yeah,
so that your phone
becomes
was
outdated quickly.
obsolete. And this is what's been going on. Of course, I got off the track about the cell phones and everything else.
Well, that's what
Well,
we're here for. Everything under the sun.
but I
That's
brought
what we're
that I
for.
brought that up just to indicate to the audience how far back I go in technology, where there was no technology, and now we have all this technology. And sometimes it bores me because I recognize that if they're selling me a technology that is ongoing today, by 6 months to a year from now, that phone is obsolete and the technology has changed. And my attitude is, why learn a technology which is not going to remain? It's wasting a tremendous amount of my time.
Right. This
So I
is
no longer,
requiring something in the human psyche and the human cognitive process that's really not been done before.
and I
Yeah.
am people of my age are beginning to just
Okay.
ignore.
We'll talk soon, Sylvia.
Yeah.
Take care.
We're here now ignoring most of this technology because it is fly-by-night technology. We know that whatever we're studying now is going to change immediately, and society has this kind of quality now. And when you look at the arguments in society about what's right or what's wrong, it's almost embarrassing, because the truth is not that difficult to discern, and yet we entertain arguments that have they're insidiously stupid, because we now entertain everything as equal. Everything is equal. Men and women are not equal. We're born equally. That is a fact. And if anything, the female is superior to the male. That is my belief. And I have believed that all my entire life. I've always been pro-female, because in the end, who could do more damage? Well, there was no argument in my mind. Men will do more damage. Although I have seen many enough men who have been destroyed by women, but still men do more damage. And at the end of the story, the female is still the more generous, the more sympathetic, the more supportive of the two genders. So I am not here to work against women. However, when it comes to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, just astrologically,
Yeah.
Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, just astrologically, I sympathize and agree with Johnny Depp the more, just astrologically. But then I also look at the kind of man that Johnny Depp is, that his past has absolutely no record of any kind of abuse. He was married to a woman with 14 years. He had 2 or 3 children with her.
Two.
She had absolutely nothing negative to say about him. And this man lived with her for over 20 years. And now all of a sudden, this little hotshot comes by, and in less than 6 years, she's destroying a man's whole career. Can you imagine? All of a sudden, she has the right to destroy a man's whole career on a lot of nonsense. When people fight, they're both dirty. There's no clean.
Right.
But Johnny Depp didn't go around trying to dishonor her, to depict her as a tramp, or and all of the things that he could have, because she was conducting affairs outside the marriage. Johnny Depp never did any of that. So this is not admissible as an argument in court, because when we get into court, it's all the legality. Legality is all about what position you're taking, and you can't argue outside those positions. So you can't really look at the full picture of any human
Right.
being.
Right.
And at this point, we're missing the greater picture of a really nice man, a
Mhm.
really nice man. But you can't talk about his past history. You can't talk about the 14-year marriage he had with his wife and 2 children, which had nothing negative to say about him. And now the hotshot comes by and she's got everything to say about him. All of a sudden, Johnny Depp is converted into a whole different kind of human being. And this is not admissible. Imagine, the real arguments are not admissible because when we go into court, we're not interested in justice. We're interested in who can argue the argument in the favor of their party. And this is the problem with courts, and I have very little love for courtroom justice. There is none. In this case, it appears that they had a good judge who was pretty fair, but it was limited to laws. And when we produce laws, what we have done is we have sort of given credentials to stop signs. No, you stop here. No, you stop here. No, you can't admit this. No, you can't admit that. It gets ridiculous. And for that reason, I'm not a great proponent of anything that is social in our social environment, because our social environment, in my mind, has become quite perverse. When we look at family value, it is not the family value that I grew up with in the 50s. When women would stroll their carriages with their babies on their sidewalks, they would stroll their carriages, talk to their neighbors. They had a relationship. Their neighbors looked out for one another. No one told their neighbors, hey, you watch the street today. No, they automatically did that. It was part of their existence. They didn't get overwhelmed by this. They just kept an eye open. And they noticed when something seemed to be out of place. And they would look into it just to find out whether that was okay or whether it was something strange that should not have occurred. We don't have that now. What we have now is people going from their door, they exit their house door, and they enter their car door. And then they come back after work, they exit their car door, and they enter into their home door. And they never speak to one another, no matter how close their houses are. They barely know who their neighbors are. That's almost unknown. Look at people that live in apartments. They don't even know who's sitting on the room above them.
Well, you want to know something? Sorry, I keep moving out of the
Well,
back
go
a little
ahead,
bit.
Ted. You've got to
Wanna sit back a little
enter
bit?
into
There you
the
go.
conversation,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
I'm going to take a sip of
I'm a little
water.
crowded.
Yeah.
So, I do want to point out that being able to know your neighbors is actually a privileged place, and I'll tell you why. Now, and it is ideal as well. One of the reasons that people don't know their neighbors is because they keep losing their homes and they keep having to move and they can't afford to live in a obscene rigged economy. people people in affluent neighborhoods or semi-affluent neighborhoods are really the only people that have the privilege of being able to get together with their neighbors.
Not only that, but the people have lost interest in their neighbors because their own lives are under so much stress. And the reason is because jobs are no longer secure.
Right, and
The
we're way too
income is
plugged
no
into
longer
computers.
consistent.
We're way too plugged into the phone.
Income is no longer consistent.
Jobs are disappearing.
Communication takes place over a piece of plastic, what we call a phone, not eye to eye, face to face, breath to breath,
Right.
heartbeat to heartbeat. We don't have that kind of thing going on because there's no time for it. And besides, we don't want to know what the neighbors' problems are because we got our own. That's not the way it was in the 50s and 60s. Neighbors wanted to share because they understood that they were a team and they had what they had as a group. Their strength was lied in their neighborhood, not in some courtroom. Very little court cases took place when I was growing up. They existed, but not like today.
Right.
today they become almost celebratory. It's almost something to brag
Well,
about.
there's something cynical. There's something cynical that happened in the system because the moment, and it just the moment like in some that women got rights, women, what Roe versus Wade. There was more legislation in terms of domestic violence, being able to stand up for yourself, all of those fun things.
What happened with a lot of these laws?
Those are things that women that were not available to women in the 50s. As a matter of fact, the woman would just die. She would just be,
Yeah, but
die at the hands of her husband because everybody would say it's none of my business.
well, the system went to correct
And-
one thing and it destroyed many.
Right. Well, and my point being is that so as soon as like good faith people that really need help start advocating for themselves, all of these disgusting giant moguls piggyback on that. Let me tell you something. Identity politics is big money. T-shirts that say, woke, woke nation, those are big money.
What's happened, Carrie, is that the society has broken up into teams, a bunch of teams.
Well,
One team against another
always
team,
had that.
against another team. No, not like now. Now it's identity politics is team. It's teamwork.
Right. Well, we have a team without a culture. That's the problem.
Well, that's
That's
where
the
I
number
was.
one.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Culture.
All
the
it is
culture of-
words.
The culture of the human heart and looking at your neighbor as another human being. That kind of culture is diminishing. But let's get back to Amber. We were talking about being that she is a double fixed sign. Her month is fixed, being the snake in the middle of spring. Her year is fixed, being the year of the tiger in the middle of winter. So she is fixed in her way. Once she's decided something, she's going to stick to it no matter how good or how bad it is. To make matters worse for Miss Heard, Miss Heard, it just seems odd that her name is Heard because
I know.
we're not sure if we've heard the last of her. In any
I hope
event,
not.
the other problem that Amber Heard has is that while this is the year of the tiger, that this culmination of the lawsuit is held in her year. This is the year of the tiger. However, China says that when you are in your own year, you're safe from any really great harm. So Amber is not going to die from some accident because this is the year of the tiger. It protects her as a tiger. However,
Year of fire protects her as a
however,
tiger,
is
right?
she in the good year of the tiger? No. This is a water year.
Right.
And she is what? A fire year? Well, this is not a year that she should have gone and battled with Johnny Depp, who was
Right.
born in a water year.
Right.
And the cat is not the enemy of the tiger. So the cat gets favor from the tiger this year. They're not
Right.
exact enemies. So now Johnny Depp gets favor because he's a cat. And this is the year of the tiger. But what really gives him the boost is that this is a tiger that is completely compatible to him because it's a water tiger.
Right.
And he is a water cat. So I don't see good things for Amber just on that basis, on the basis that she's making her plight in a year that is very much against her as a fire person. Fire people are very colorful, but they have to be careful of water.
Yeah. I also want to make the point that this isn't a condemnation. At least, I don't believe that Amber Heard deserves to be miserable. I don't believe that anybody does.
She's a human being,
Right, she's a human being. This does not make me happy. I do not feel joy watching people suffer because this is something that I feel like they're both. This was a shit show. That whole relationship was a shit show, and they're both responsible.
I look at her and what I see is
this other litigation, and I understand why he wants to clear his good name, and he's not really after the money. And I hope that that's what we'll see in the end.
I look at her and I see a rather, I want to say ignorant, but that could be offensive, but there's some kind of innocence in her, in that she doesn't really know what she started. She doesn't really know
Right, she has no idea where
what
she
she got herself into.
right, she was a young little virtue signaler
And
who had these
she
terms, and she
and
tried to
she
be with an adult man,
and
and
she
that's not gonna work
and she looks lost every time I
every
look
time.
at her.
Yeah.
She is not in a place where it belongs to her. She is in a place that does not belong to her. So, in my mind, there's weakness for her during this year. And if I'm right, she's going to lose. If I'm wrong, well, we are living at a time where everything has been mixed up so that nothing makes sense to anyone. When we yell about,
Well, we also have to look at the strength of the lawyers, right? Look at their signs
but
and
just knowing human
yeah,
nature, people
actually,
when they
that's a good
fight
idea.
when people, we have to just remember human nature. When they fight, it's ugly. The question becomes, who went all out to try to hurt the other? And that was not Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp did not go out and try to dismiss her or to portray her as a tramp. And she's done things that pretty much border that with her threesome sex thing. Johnny Depp doesn't have that kind of history. He doesn't have the kind of history of very risky, risque kind of things. Johnny Depp is more down to earth as a human
Oh
being.
no, Johnny Depp has had his fair share of drugs and threesome and women.
Well,
That's a
drugs.
Hollywood life.
Well, drugs.
And she shouldn't have to eat it any more than anybody else that's there does.
Well, who said that there was?
No, I mean, like, you know,
This is the other thing. The character witnesses was very poor, and I thought character witness was really a great part of who held the greater truth. Johnny Depp may have done some things, but I don't think that. I'm not so sure that these things were done strictly out of
no,
marital, out
right.
of matrimonial promise. So yeah, he led a life that's Hollywood style, but so did she. The
Right.
difference is that she went out while married to this man and went off with the threesome as a married woman. Uh, it seems to me that she is more reckless than Johnny Depp ever could be. But the fact is that when you look at the two making their presentation, Johnny Depp is very methodical in the manner that he describes his past, and he tries to give you a live example of what went on. His expressions of the past he brings life to them, even though he speaks methodically. Whereas when she's speaking, it's almost like it's a rote memory, something that she read that she should do or somebody told her that she should do. And it looks like a programmed testimony. Whereas with Johnny Depp, it looks like more he's making recollection and he is trying to be as accurate about those recollections as possible. So he's being very methodical and very careful to tell the story as it stands all the time. It's going to withstand any questions. Her testimony looks like you can punch holes in it anywhere you want because they're broadcasted testimony. They're not testimony that comes from deep-rooted feeling, except for the fact that she throws on the tears. And this is unfortunately, I still prefer the
Well,
female.
fire years, that's the thing, that's the problem.
Well,
The
no,
fire
it's not
years
the
aren't
fire years
no,
that do
fire
that.
years are not fast to tears.
No,
They're
but
not.
she
And
is.
that's not a fair way to evaluate her. I don't
I
think
didn't
that's
evaluate her
no,
that
not
way.
you, not you. I'm talking about what other
Well,
people, yeah.
but the fact that she is a fire person and she does put on the tears, that's fabricated.
Right.
That's fabricated. Fire
Right.
people don't have anything to cry about.
Well, and I think that's kind of like in terms of like the court and the way that we view people and things
Well,
like that.
let's
Yeah.
explain to
I
the
don't think that
audience.
that's fair to fire people to say, oh, well, you have to look like
No, I didn't say anything
not
like
you,
that.
not you. I'm
Well,
talking
why are
about
you making those statements if I didn't even say those?
not you. I'm saying when you go to court, a lot of people think, oh, you have to give the right demonstration of
And I am
emotion.
trying to say that just the fact,
I'm not arguing with you.
well, by the mere fact that she's fired, we can dismiss whether she did or didn't do certain things. The fact is that
Oh,
as a
all right.
fire person, she should not be crying. Now, I was about to say,
Mhm.
as much as I prefer the female over the male, as far as who can you rely on more for support and love and continuity, and that would be the female. But even after saying that, the females do have one little tool that they know overwhelms men. And when you have a jury that's got men in it, well, the tears is going to wipe out most men. And women do that because they know that. And I'm afraid to say that a lot of women do that intentionally,
Some women do
especially
that, not most.
especially a fire woman crying. That's a lie. Fire women, they have only one direction to function. And that's how China looks at these signs. The fire moves against gravity. So fire is the one that can lie and appear to tell the truth because they move in one direction. And because of that, it could be their strength and it can be their weakness. But in this case, fire is at a weakness for several reasons. It's a water year, and fire is not going to be all that popular during water. And she's going up against a man who's born in a water year, while she's born in a fire year. There's another reason why um, Johnny Depp is got a more favorable position in the argument. As far as what happens in court itself, well, I've already said what I felt about court. They're not about legal justice. They're about legal expediting, getting things done quickly. But we don't
Yeah,
want to
it's
know.
definitely not about people. It's
We
just about
don't want to
no.
know.
It's just about making money and pushing paper
Yeah, we don't really want to know who's right
and making a name for yourself.
Right. And so this is a problem with all legal entanglements, and that is why one should not engage in legal entanglements. They're better off having a discussion amongst each other and solving the problem amongst each other, because China says there is a position of agreement between water and fire. It can work. And how does that work? That water applies its power over fire in a loving way, meaning then that it uses its water nature to calm the fire when it is in an outraged condition. Fire has a way of augmenting its flame simply because it is burning, and its burning quality enrages everything around it so that it all burns. Everything that it can touch will burn. What water does is to throw enough water around the fire to contain it and make the fire more concentrated. And it's got a little water to go in there, because when water hits fire, fire sparks up at first. So, in a sense, if water is applied properly to fire, it enriches the power of fire without enriching the aggravation of fire, or um, the anger and the overwhelming power of fire. When water and fire work together, they keep each other. The fire keeps the water warm and active, and the water keeps the fire cool and controlled, so that now the fire can become useful when it can be managed by someone that's using it or manipulating it, or employing it in its efforts to do something, make a fire, make an engine work, bring light to the situation, bring warmth over cold, eliminate ice over and restore conditions to favorable. Because without fire, you cannot have life either. You see, these elements that the Chinese use and that the Western astrologers use, these elements are all necessary elements for life. Without these elements, we are not able to have a full life. We need them. We need fire. We need the cold. We need water. We need the earth so that items can find a place to lodge themselves, take out minerals they need, and augment life with their presence, bearing fruit and grain and nuts and things and berries for humanity to consume. And they also produce all of the elements that human beings can manipulate and convert into other products, such as petro products to burn fuel and things of that nature. There's so many ways to enrich the soil. We have matter that is rotting. Rotting takes place when there is water and heat. They need to be together. If there's water and cold, nothing happens to anything. But water and heat will cause items to break down to their original elements, and they replenish the earth. So you see, these elements are necessary. Air is necessary for human beings and animals to breathe. They need the oxygen, because the oxygen will actually burn what we intake as food. What we take as food is poisonous until oxygen breaks it down. And oxygen is poisonous, but it's a poison that the human body needs so that it can break down the elements that it takes in. So you see, these elements all work together. And that is what I was trying to point out between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. We look at their elements and we see the interplay between them. And what I've just pointed out is just a simple way to look at these things astrologically. I am not so concerned about whether I am right or wrong, and that Johnny Depp is found right and that maybe Amber Heard is found wrong. This is not my point. My point is to look at what elements are at work and how they may fare. And by the way, if the judgment turns out to be different from what I think, the fact of the matter is that nature took care of itself. That what it's doing now, even if it may be wrong, at some later date, will turn out to something else. When we look at the earth, when it makes up all of its elements, copper and magnesium and radium, radioactive material, and mercury and iron ore, and you name it, beryllium and tin, and these things were designed by nature when other things were no longer necessary, and they converted to these things. Gold comes out of raw materials after thousands and thousands of years. Something turns into gold, but it wasn't started as gold. Anyway, do you have something you'd like to add along these lines, or you want to hear me talk some
I
more?
am just trying to survive the wet t-shirt, hippie shirt contest that I'm having
Oh,
right
well,
now.
you're
I'm
having
like,
one of those days.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'll try. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm just, forget it.
I simply don't have those days. And
Yes,
I don't
thank
know,
God.
I don't know what they're
Yes.
like.
I think we have excessive masculine and excessive feminine here.
In that regard, I'm glad that I'm a male. Even though, as I've said, that I'm a proponent of females.
Yes, well,
have been all
and now
my
you see
life.
why.
But I'm still glad that I'm a man.
He sees what I have to go through.
I don't think I'd want to share what a woman has to go through, and there's no question in my mind that a woman bears a lot more pain, and for her body strength, she is many times stronger than a man in many ways. Physically, she can do more work than a man because she can work longer hours than a man can. And physically, she is able to do several things at a time, up to maybe 6 or 7 things at one time. Men have a problem with doing one thing at a time. Now, I'm multifaceted, but I know most of the men that I have ever worked with, they can't focus on more than the one little thing in front of their nose. And they're lucky if they get that far. As men are very hard to teach.
Yeah, Michael, I have to say, you are actually very good at continuing to work and work and work. And you can have like a whole philosophical, well, that's an Aries though. That's when you do your best thinking.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
when I'm working is when I'm thinking.
Yeah, if you had your way, you would be up in a tree, holding audience with people and like pruning at the same time. That's how that would work.
And teaching them.
And teaching them
how to prune.
Yeah,
and teaching them about the philosophy.
Teaching them about pruning.
Teach them philosophy and pruning all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because a man, if he wants to be a complete man, he should address all parts of his nature. And his nature is not just to be physical. He's not here just to consume
Mhm.
and go to the bathroom and expel. He's here to take in knowledge and to give back higher knowledge from the knowledge that he has gotten. In a sense, his knowledge has to go into his mind and ferment, just like elements go into the earth and they ferment. And then they turn around and bring something greater. And that's what a man's mind is supposed to do. Because women promote life without having to talk. Just their touch, just their look at their child gives life to their child.
Mm.
Whereas a man has to be proper. He needs to be tender. And he has to come off his horse when he's dealing with the speciality of a child. The child is a sponge,
Right.
and it takes in whether you want it to or not. And so you must be aware of that. Whereas I think women are automatically there. They're automatically always, and if anything, they overdo. And that's where women tend to spoil their children.
Right.
And that's where we are in our society, where there is now great mistakes about the rearing of children. Too much attention is placed on giving attention rather than giving the right attention. And the right attention
Mhm.
doesn't require a lot of time.
Yeah, I think about it too in terms of, when we start getting confused about our rules and what's going on in society, it does come back to the same thing, that our polarities are reversed. The emotional freedom technique, actually, Michael isn't really, he's kind of familiar with it. They have, if you want to check it out, look at the basic recipe, and they talk about like set points, and they talk about actually when your polarities were reversed, there are things that you can do with your body, like little fun things, like you can do this and then wrap your feet around each other. And that kind of helps straighten the polarity out in your body as well. That's important because even when we're talking about churches and things like that, I'm still, I'm not sure if I said it in the last show, but I think I did. That when you invite big giant men and they have to bow down, and they have to worship, and they have to listen to a man with a giant penis on his head, but they're in the mother's womb.
That's the problem. The man is too much oriented to his penis.
Inherent in the way that we have monotheistic practices through the Pauline lens, it emasculates men. Well, what the hell? How do you be a good man? Because ultimately, I mean, everything is actually the feminine principle at the end of the day. Even the meat suits that we travel in.
Well,
they're feminine.
Life is yin. Life is feminine.
Right.
Whether you're a male or a female, it's still feminine.
But we don't want
death
that.
in the let's call it the spiritual realm will be the male, but that is an unknowable.
Right. And so
it's all when you're dealing with us on this planet, it is all yin. It is all female oriented. Why men have so much trouble with the women might be because, well, those poor dears, they have their organs exposed and they can be eliminated real quick. So you've got men who are afraid. And that's, I think, the basic problem between men and women. Women are not afraid. They say they are.
Right.
But they're not.
Right. Because we're better relationally.
Because the female is more properly the yin.
Right.
The female is in a yin environment with a yin body. The male is in the yin environment with a yang body.
If we're not a toxic yin, we're better relationally. We're much better at nuance. We're much better at the subtle.
And so the yang person is at a disadvantage in a yin world.
Right. And even though I'm Year of the Dog, but I know, even though I can be a real airhead, but I still know my environment. I'm present. I know everything that's going on around me. I know what everybody's needs are. Whoever that is, even people, when they're living with us and staying with us, I know what their needs are too. I don't interrupt them. None of that. It's just how it is.
Dogs read human beings extremely well.
And systems are important to me.
And dogs take on the character of their owners when they know which ones are good and which are bad.
Right.
The negative dog,
well we're both vicious. Dogs, so we're just a little pack now. We're just a little dog tribe.
Well, the thing with dogs is it's easy to tell if you can get along with them. It's either going to be the dog who's very good,
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
usually most of the people born in the year of the dog. And if he's very bad, you don't have to look at him long. When you see a nasty dog, you know you're around a bad dog.
Well, I think that might be a good opportunity for us to also just take a moment and just give our condolences and our prayers and send our love to, was it Uvalde School, the shooter in Texas, the families, and what it was Texas, and then there was one in Pennsylvania. Okay. And we still haven't apprehended that individual. And then there was the one in Dayton, Ohio. And as it turns out, the shooter in Dayton, Ohio, and again, all of our love, and please, please heal very quickly. The shooter in Dayton, Ohio, ding, ding, ding. What's his name? Connor. Oh, I better put my glasses on. Connor Stephen Betts, born October 28th, 1994.
Well, we have the combination of Charles Manson.
That's right. That's what you
A
have here.
Scorpio dog, and that's
Yep.
what Charles Manson was.
When the dog
But
goes
this
bad, they go
dog,
bad.
both of them are born in the wood dog.
Both.
And why is the wood dog the one that could be really nasty?
And also the shooter, for the racist shooter, I think, what was it, in North Carolina or Georgia or whatever, he was an Aries dog, 1994. Same thing.
So when dogs are rabid, you have to shoot them.
Yep.
Just like when a horse breaks its leg, you have to shoot them. A rabid dog, you cannot change back to a normal dog. You have to shoot them. Charles Manson was a Scorpio dog. This man that you just mentioned was a Scorpio dog. Both of them wood dogs. And why is that a more critical position for the dog? Well, the dog's element is metal. And the year that he's born in, the metal dog would be Carrie, the 1970 dog. And so that dog is born in its element, the element that the dog prefers. But this shooter was born in, and Charles Manson, the same, both of them scorpions, both of them born in the wood dog. And the dog is metal, so the dog conquers the year of wood. He has to express his wood, which is subtle, but the animal is metal, which is rigid. And so now the subtle can get by because the rigid part of the dog is the one that's in control, but he appears as the subtle, easygoing dog.
Right.
So he will fool others, just as Charles Manson did.
Whenever you approach a dog, you always know to show caution. You might love them, but you just want to make sure, and you want to know the sign that they're stable.
Because he is metal, if he's out of sorts, the wood will not stop him. The wood will give him the ease to get through other people.
Right.
And because he's a Scorpio, you have a sign of extremism.
Whatever things he does, he's going to do successfully.
Scorpios can be extremely good people in life.
Yes.
But when they're bad, you have to get away from them.
Shit.
They are evil.
There you go. There's anima possession right there. That's
so
what that
you have this condition, and the interesting thing is that this fellow was the exact same combination as Charles Manson, a wood Scorpio dog. The same thing. And it's not surprising that he accomplished even what Charles Manson was not willing to do, and that is to actually do the killing himself. In any event, do we want to continue this? Or?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know what, and there is one more. Let's just talk about it a little bit and then we'll close. Because I didn't want to talk about it at the beginning of the show because I didn't want to start crying. And then, of course, I was having like hot flashes anyway. I'm like, forget it. Today I'm giving you a fashion show. So the other one is Salvador Ramos, and he was born May 16th.
Who's the other one? I don't know who you're talking about.
This is the other shooter. This is the one in Texas, the one that killed 19 children.
19 children, wow.
He was an 18-year-old. He was born May 16th, 2004. Also wood, another wood quality. By the way, we want to say with wood people with the wood years. He's a wood monkey. He's a Taurus wood monkey.
What China says about wood is
Yeah.
that it is subtle.
Right.
If it gets angry, it will hold on to its anger. It is like
Yes.
the tree. When the most dangerous thing in work-related thing that anybody can do, and certainly a compensation board charges the highest tax for people who are protected by workman's comp, and that is the cutting of trees. Trees are wood. They belong to the wood family or the root family. And what they know about trees is that we don't know where the stress lies. This would be the same thing with people born in the year of wood. People who are born in the year of wood will be the years that end in number 4 and number 5. In other words, 1994, 95, 2004, 2005, like that. 2014, 2015. These are the wood people. And we don't know all about them because they keep everything calm and serene because they've learned to
Right.
catalyze with that thing so that it becomes one and the same. But they don't show it to you because you only see the exterior where everything is calm. But it is the interior that China says about wood that they need to go out and scream and yell and do heavy exercises to get rid of the stress that they
Yes.
build on the
Yeah,
inside.
they do.
And now we see that these killers are born in wood, and the stress that was on the inside finally breaks on the
Snapped.
outside.
That's right.
And now we have murderers, villains. We have despicable people.
And I
We
want to
have to
say,
be ready for these
right.
people.
I
So
want to make
learning
the note.
astrology in our society is really long overdue.
Absolutely. I want to make the note. This book series that I read called The Ringing Cedars of Russia, what I learned, this is years ago that I read it, what I had learned is that the Siberian cedar trees live approximately 150 years. And when they are about to die, they actually explode. And so the people that live there know that if you hear the cedar start to ring, you have to chop it down. Otherwise, it will be a huge explosion. It's very interesting. There's some very interesting Siberia and
But trees in general,
the ethnic people in that area, really fascinating.
trees in general live a long time because
Right.
they are able to keep their
Look at the
exterior
redwoods, my
intact.
God. Yep.
Well, the redwoods in California,
Beautiful.
they're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So the
Oh,
wood
that's
people can be very nice to be around.
Yeah.
However, if the stress becomes too great,
right.
it breaks. And in
Right.
human beings, we are the
Right.
animals that we express some of the worst things that's built into nature.
Right.
We are the murderers of the planet. We kill more animals than any animal ever has done.
Yeah.
We're the only animals that make other animals obsolete. That's the way we are. We have no there's no way to address the damage that we can do.
Right.
We don't seem to be concerned about it at all. And this is a phenomenon of mankind that expresses the doom in mankind. Until he learns to be compassionate, he can only do damage. But
Well,
anyway,
and
we should close
right,
at
and
some point.
the primary reason I wanted to say before we close is that the primary reason that we have this channel is because we really hope that we can be a vehicle to encourage people to connect to their own humanity and see the
Well,
humanity
you see
in
that when
others.
we use astrology, we're very practical in the way we use it.
Yeah,
We do not make any serious predictions of any kind,
right.
and we don't condemn anyone for anything. If anything, we try to educate what astrology is really about, and then we try to give examples by living things going on, like the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp court case. We want to get into it from, let's call it from a organic
Right. Yeah,
way, rather
just kind of
than
enter it
rather than to make accusations
Right.
and big grandstand positions.
right. What do we want to discover about them? Because if we don't understand their own humanity and their own
The
frailties, then
humanity is what we
we
try to
can't make proper
remain.
predictions about why they did
Right.
what they did. And it isn't about winners. It's about figuring out how to be human.
We don't
Yeah.
forget the humanity in everything that we talk about.
That's
In any
right.
event,
Okay.
we're done for today.
All right. All
Until
our
the
love.
next time.
And travel light.
Goodbye.
Maybe. Okay.